we get into this, I want to take a little bit of a pause here and say something that I think is important. Okay. Everybody, when it comes to investing, like their health, has a different philosophy, which may or may not work for them. It's like intermittent fasting. It works really well for some people. It doesn't work very well for other people. Low carb diets, high fat, low protein diets. I mean, you name it. There's diets for everybody. And somebody will tell you, oh my God, this is the most amazing diet in the world, but it works really well for them. And it's probably not going to work so well for you. Or if it does, it might work differently. Investing is no different, right? Just because one of these works really well for somebody doesn't mean that it's going to work really well for you. You kind of have to figure out what's going to be in your best interest, what you can do long term, and what you think your kids are likely to better off using. And I'll get back to that towards the latter stage of this discussion when I explain what I did for my son and why.
Right, exactly. So I think the important thing here is that, first of all, she's even thinking about this, right?
Yeah, that's the right thought.
Yeah, that's the right thought, exactly. And the next question is, what's the purpose, right? Is it for college? Is it maybe to help them in the long term, maybe a down payment on a home, right? Is it maybe to help them buy their first car? Because for each of these, there could be different vehicles that you could use in order to get to that destination.
So for kids, I have two schools of thought when it comes to investing. Part of me thinks, okay, think about some of the best athletes in the world. LeBron James started playing basketball when he was really young. Serena, really, really young. Father was very, very obstinate. You were going to do this. This is what you're going to do, right? Tiger Woods, same thing. Say what you want about their upbringing. Their parents had a path. They mandated that they follow this, and they early on and never let up on the discipline they expected from their kids. If you take this path with your kids, part of me goes, okay, you know what? You're going to have a fantastic 529 meant for college, and your kid's going to use it to go to college because you're going to be somewhat forceful here. But the other part of me says, maybe you don't need to take this aggressive path with deciding your kid's future in advance. Maybe, just maybe, you take a more liberal path to investing with something that's got a little bit more usability and a little bit more dynamic in how you can use it from a tax perspective. And you say, if my kid doesn't want to go to school and they want to start a business, they can do that. If my kid wants to go to school, they can do that as well. The tax ramifications are different. So you got to figure out which kind of parent you really want to be, because some of these investment strategies only work under certain scenarios and have certain benefits.
I agree.
So if you're not thinking about those benefits long term, then you're really lying to yourself very early on, and it's going to hurt you long term.
But with each of them, it's about knowing the basics, which we're going to cover on the show, and also committing and being disciplined to the time that it'll take, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to start off with an example that helped one of us go viral not too long ago.
Always back to the viral clip.
Always back to the... So we've talked about it routinely on the show about, the eighth wonder of the world being compound interest, right? So I did some maths. The math's mathing right now. And if you were to invest $50 a month, I didn't want to go the traditional route of $100 a month. Thought it would be too cliche. Let's go just 50. Keep it a little simple.
So just to be clear for the audience, you're recreating your own viral clip on a subsequent show?
No, but on about a specific topic on compound interest.
It's the same topic.
Yeah.
You're a dirty, sneaky bastard.
Okay. So $50 a month with an average rate of return of 7% a year. We know the S&P 500 on average gives you a return of somewhere between 10 to 12%. So we're being conservative.
Not according to the internet trolls, just for clarity purposes. Yeah.
They really hate me for saying 7% return. I'm like, come on, guys.
Most common error with them calling you out is they didn't account for reinvested dividends.
Reinvested dividends, and also it's looking at the average rate of return over a 30-year period. Take any 30 years, it's around at least 10 to 12%.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's where that comes from, in case you were wondering. If you were to invest, this is actually pretty crazy, $50 a month for your child, starting at the age of 25, okay, till the age of retirement, 65, they will have $131,000. Age of 20, that goes up to $189,000. Age of 15, $272,000. Age of 10, you can start investing $50 a month, $389,000. Notice how this is starting to be a hockey stick up, right? Age of 5, $556,000. Starting at the age of 1, $737,000. The difference in contribution from age 25 and age 1, only $14,000.
So, I say this with a grain of salt because I know, again, people get really they really get frustrated with this. They say, "Okay, Chris, okay, Saeed, fine. It's a lot of money, but that money in the future, with inflation, that's only going to be able to buy me a hamburger."
Yeah.
And I think to myself, okay, let's just say hypothetically you're right, that with inflation, it's going to be a lot less valuable. It's still more than you would have had you not have done anything.
And nobody is saying that this should be the only thing you do for your child.
Precisely.
Right. I mean, this is just an added benefit that you can give them that you can pass on to them as well, right?
Well, it's also one of those things you can pass on during your lifetime. So much of the mistake that I see people who are generally up and coming into the middle class or maybe middle class their entire life is they don't have legacy assets they can leave to their kids unless they die. I guess in theory that's better than nothing, but at the same time, the whole point of being able to support your kids and giving your kids these opportunities is getting to see them have the opportunities during your lifetime. Or God forbid something happens to you when you pass away, you know they have things like this set in place to provide for them in your absence. These are not the only thing you should be thinking about as a parent, but they are certainly things that'll give you enrichment to know that, number one, you helped them get there, and number two, you provided an opportunity during your lifetime to make their life better. Because look, we all came from different places. Some of us had a leg up and help, some of us did not. And I can tell you right now, unequivocally, those who've had a leg up generally have a better trajectory for the same reason that compound interest works so effectively. It's because if you start somebody off farther down the process to success and closer to the end goal, the faster they're going to get there.
Absolutely. And just imagine the conversations that you'll have around the dinner table when you start talking about this. Look, Jimmy or Jane.
Why Jimmy?
I don't know, man. We're in this position that we are now because we thought about this how many years ago? 18 years ago. We were able to afford this for you because we were putting away a little bit at a time. That lesson in and of itself right there for them is, I mean, that's priceless, right? Something that I've routinely started to do now is like I like to gift like a share of a stock to a kid, right? If it's a kid's birthday.
You strike me as a AARP kind of guy who does that.
And I get you the whole stock certificate for you to frame.
Ones.
Yeah, have to, right?
Yeah, makes total sense.
Yeah, exactly. And I can tell them, look, you now own a piece of Mickey. That's partly yours, right? So let's get into this. I think 529 accounts get a bad rap. I think we have given it a bad rap on the show too.
I don't like them.
I personally don't like them either because it's kind of like you're telling your kids that you're going to go to college, right? Because you're not going to make me throw away all these benefits. But look, at the end of the day, if you were to take out that money for non-qualified expense, college expense, you get taxed on the gains, not on the initial contributions. I think that's something worth
but
noting.
The whole point of having a plan like this is to avoid tax liability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So, but some things that I found out and that I learned throughout this process and prepping for the show is you can use them towards trade schools, which I think are only going to become more and more popular as years come on.
This is true.
Okay. So that's also a huge benefit. You can use them for private education, K through 12. And on top of that, any excess funds after the fact, let's just say you have a smart kid and they're going to get a scholarship, or you have a kid that's going to get a scholarship through sports, and they're not going to need the funds, right? Well, any excess funds actually can be transferred into a Roth IRA account for them and can be rolled over starting this year. Thanks to your boy.
My boy.
JB.
Mr. Biden. Well, yeah, again, I'm not a big fan of the 529 plan because I think that they're too confined in their benefits. And a Roth IRA, all well and good if you want to wait till retirement age to really get access to it. So therein lies the downfall in my mind. A Roth IRA is a retirement account. So if you're going to invest in your kid's future in a retirement account, they won't get access to these funds until they're of retirement age, at least with the tax benefits all in place. So to me, that really only leaves you one type of account that I like, and that's your traditional normalized brokerage account. And a brokerage account doesn't have the tax benefits, certainly does not, that you would normally get in these other accounts. What it does is it gives you more flexibility. It gives you more of an ability to grow over time and choose what assets you want in the underlying account, number one. Number two, you can self-manage, self-direct this entirely on your own as at your cadence, at your convenience. And number three, let's say your kid doesn't want to go to college. Let's say your kid wants to start a business. They can do that. Let's say your kid wants to continue to grow this account while they get their first job and add funds to it. And now they're not starting from zero, they're starting from $100,000 or $200,000. Let's say you own, you're an executive at a publicly traded company and you get paid stock compensation. You could literally move your stock compensation directly into this account as just a straight transfer of one stock account to another stock account of the stock that's there in a cashless transaction. There's lots of different ways that I think this is much more beneficial for most people. And you don't have to fall in any one of those scenarios to be a benefit. But I think a brokerage account allows you the most amount of freedom, particularly given the access to accounts online right now. You can literally log into an E-Trade account, a Fidelity account. I mean, you name it, even a Robinhood account, and start this instantly. True story. When my son was born, the day he was born in the hospital, there was a couple things I did. And one of them was from the hospital room, I opened up an account at Fidelity where I already had my personal accounts. I called it Carter's account. And I instantly moved $25,000 worth of stock, existing stock, into his account from my personal brokerage accounts. And I knew all the compound interest benefits and started this number, started that number. But I also knew, like you pointed out early on, that once you hit to a certain number, that number really starts to increase at a rapid cadence. So I wanted to jumpstart his rapid cadence acceleration.
Right.
That was the intent.
Yeah, I mean, and that's amazing, and one that if you can afford, absolutely go ahead and do it, right? So there's two types of custodial accounts that if you go down this process that you'll likely be opening up. It's either they call it a UGMA account, a Uniform Gift to Minors Act account, or a UTMA account, which is the Uniform Transfers to a Minor Act. One of them you can hold real estate in, right, the UTMA, and the other one is more for like cash, stocks, bonds, things of that nature.
I'm also much more simple when it comes to this too, and this is not legal or investing advice, but as an attorney, I can tell you that's all well and good.
Yeah.
I chose not to do that. I opened up an account that's in my name that I use for him. I have allocated in my trust for my son should anything happen to my wife and I, but he has no access, no control, and it's not in his name until such time as he's an adult. I'll transfer it to him.
And that was the exact next point I was going to make. So with these types of accounts, as the minor, when they become an adult, they now have access to those funds. If that is something that's concerning to you, like, look, not all kids mature at the same cadence, right? And the last thing you want is to be handing over a boatload of money to someone that you had no idea was going to be financially responsible or not aware of what they want to do, and they want to go invest some money with some friends into some business that you're like, this is not it, right? So if that makes you a little uncomfortable, the right thing to do, like Chris mentioned, would be to put it under a trust where you can spell out exactly when you want them to have access to it.